Okay. Hi, everyone. Welcome. Good evening. I'm going to let folks continue to trickle in, and then we will get started.
Hey, Michelle. Hey, Kat.
Hi, Susan. Thanks for coming.
Hi, Susan.
Right, last couple of folks trickling in at the moment. All right, I'm gonna go ahead and get started. Thanks again, everyone, for coming to our September RTAG meeting. Appreciate it. Next slide, please. Just to let folks know, we are recording this meeting. The MBTA may choose to retain and distribute the video, still images, audio, and/or transcript. By continuing attendance for this virtual public meeting, you consent to participate in a recorded event. If you're not comfortable being recorded, please turn off your camera and keep your microphone muted, or you may choose to excuse yourself from the meeting. Some other important notes include your microphone and webcam are automatically disabled upon entering this meeting. This meeting will be open to questions and answers at the end of the formal presentation. And please take time to respond to our survey. Your feedback is always important. Next slide, please. So for tonight's agenda, we will begin with a welcome and introductions. We will then have Zoom directions, an RTAG update, SWA updates given by Laura Brailsford. We have fair engagement updates given by Sonia Stejic. We have a system-wide accessibility feedback session. Then we will have the ride updates given by Michelle Styler, then a ride feedback session, and then we will have closing remarks. Next slide, please. So Zoom directions for us ASL interpreters tonight. We have Katie McFarlane and Sandy Ligren. To view their video, you can find the interpreter's video in the gallery. In the top right corner of the interpreter's video, click the ellipses, then click the pin video option. This will keep the interpreter's video on your screen. Next slide. Perfect. Zoom directions for CART captioning. Our CART captioner tonight is Denise Gracia. To start viewing closed captioning, click closed caption with the CC icon. A tip is to click and drag the closed captioning to move its positioning in the meeting window. To adjust the caption size, click the upward arrow next to start video / stop video. Click video settings, then accessibility, and move the slider to adjust the caption size. Next slide. And Zoom directions for technical questions. If you have a technical question about Zoom or the features of the meeting, please use the chat function, and we will attempt to troubleshoot your problem and get back to you.
Please click this link called HTTPS.
I'm gonna just mute that. Awesome. Next slide, please, Rob. So for an RTAG update, I'm not actually sure that that person is here today, but I will give a quick update. Some exciting news that just became public is that RTAG received a $25,000 grant from Transportation for Massachusetts to complete a project that will bridge together the biking and disability communities to hopefully work on some issues that both of the communities face together. Oftentimes we hear the disability community share safety concerns regarding having to cross bike lanes to board or alight a bus, or have to do that directly in a bike lane. And so this project will focus on creating a working group with members from both communities, hopefully do some projects such as researching and gathering data of incidents that involve people with disabilities, spiking incidents, hopefully have some in-person panels that can bring the two communities together, do some sort of marketing and awareness campaign. We kind of have a lot of ideas and a timeline, but this was just news that was made public a couple of days ago. So of course we'll have more updates as time goes on, but it's some exciting news as we have been hearing about this issue a lot in the past, several years, and it's become a major concern of ours since last year. So some exciting news that we'll hopefully have more to share with you sometime soon. And with that, I will turn it over to the next slide, which I believe will be Laura. And Laura, take it away.
Thanks so much, Kat here. And I have to break script and just say that is such incredibly exciting news about the grant you all just received. I know bike lane and pedestrian safety and accessibility has been such a major topic. I can't wait to see the progress that this helps us all move forward.
Thanks, Laura.
Congratulations. All right, so good evening, everyone. I'm Laura Brailsford from System-Wide Accessibility. I am going to yield the bulk of my time to my colleague Sonia tonight, but before I do, I just wanted to share a few updates with all of you. So the first is an update on a station opening we are really excited about. Specifically Winchester commuter rail station, which has been under construction for the last couple of years to make the station fully accessible, is on track to open this Monday. This is going to be a partial opening. Only half of the inbound and half of the outbound platforms are going to be open on Monday, and the full platforms will be open later this year. But inbound and outbound service will resume serving Winchester on Monday, and both sides of the platforms will be accessible. Because only half of the platforms are going to be open, that means that only the first 2 to 4 cars on the train set are going to line up with the raised platform. So with that in mind, we have some specific boarding procedures in place. If you are boarding at a station other than Winchester and planning to exit at Winchester, we'd ask that you board in the first 2 cars of the train set. So the cars that are closest to the leading end of the train set. That way, when you arrive at Winchester, you will line up with the raised platform. If for whatever reason you find yourself in one of the cars of the train that doesn't line up with that raised platform, and you're not able to navigate through the train to get to those first cars, just let anyone on the train car know, and they're required to reposition the train so that the doors closest to you line up with that raised platform. And if at any point you have any trouble with these protocols or any questions, please reach out and let us know. So we're doing a lot to make riders aware of these policies, including in general about the opening. We've got signage in and around the station. Announcements will be made on the train as well as the station, and the crews are going to make every effort to walk through the train to make sure people know how to exit safely. Again, as of right now, we're planning on the opening of the full station at the towards the end of this year, but the details regarding that date are to be determined. Next slide. And just to give y'all a snapshot of some of the things you're going to see there once the station is fully open, we're going to have full high-level platforms that are going to be quite long. They're going to be long enough to eventually serve 9 car trains. We're going to have a number of accessible paths to each platform. So 2 accessible options for getting to one of the platform, and actually 3 accessible paths to another. Each has a combination of elevators and ramps. We're gonna have canopies and updated lighting, as well as lots of benches, bike racks, and a new public address system. And all in all, this is gonna be a really fantastic, modern and accessible commuter rail station. So we look forward to getting this open and giving everyone a chance to check it out. I would ask that folks do me a favor if you're planning on being out there early next week. Before you head out, just check our service alerts page just to make sure that there's been no changes to our plans for Monday. This is a major project. Everything's looking good for opening, but we just want to make sure that that folks have the information they need before they head out. So if you're planning to be out there on Monday or Tuesday, just keep an eye on your service alerts. All right, so next up. So, in a very different news, we've recently made a change to the look of our tap and blind access Charlie cards. I want to emphasize here that nothing regarding the functionality or the fair prices of our tap or blind access Charlie cards have changed, but they're going to look a lot different. Specifically, we are no longer requiring these cards to have customers' photos or names on them. This is something we did a while back with senior Charlie cards, and it's been working out great. And now we're doing the same thing for our TAP, which is our disability Charlie card, and our blind access cards. So going forward, if you get a new Charlie card, that's a TAP card or blind access card, or you replace your existing card or renew it, the card you're gonna see is going to, what you'll see in a second, it's going to not include your photo or name. So on the screen here, you can see on the left-hand side, this is what the personalized cards used to look like. And many of us have these on us today, where it had the name of the reduced card. Here it says card blind access card with your photo right there and your name on the left along with the expiration dates. And then going forward on the right here, you're going to see what the unpersonalized Charlie card looks like. So it's still in very clear letters, very clear language, gonna say that this is a reduced fare card. But other than that statement, it's essentially a generic card. The major advantage to this is the turnaround time for issuing these to riders is much quicker. So as many people at this meeting have likely experienced, and many folks we hear from, oftentimes it takes quite a while from the time you apply for a reduced fare card or renew your card until the time you get one. And that's due to the complexity of the printing of the personalized cards. Now, with this unpersonalized approach, we've cut all of those steps out. Now, I do want to note that even though your photo and name will not be printed on that card, all of that information, including your photo, will be tied to the card electronically. So if somebody wanted to verify that a customer was the legitimate holder of a reduced fare card, they'd be able to take that card and look up the account number and find your name and your photo and your information on there. So there's still a number of fraud prevention aspects to these depersonalized cards in place. They're just not visible on the cards themselves. Next slide. All right, and then finally, we were really happy last week to share a new podcast that our customer experience team put out. So folks that don't know, for roughly the last year, the MBTA's been putting out podcasts, monthly podcasts that feature either a different employee or a different key stakeholder related to the MBTA, covering a host of different topics. And we were particularly excited in that this month's episode, the one and only Joanne Feingold was highlighted. And so in this episode, Joanne talks about how she first got engaged in advocacy related to the MBTA, the history of the settlement agreement, along with the challenges that we are still working to address, and some advice for fellow advocates for how to stay in the fight. So if you have not had a chance to listen, please do. And you can find the podcast by going to mbta.com/podcast. Got a photo of Joanne and our podcast promo there on the left. Next slide. All right, so before I turn it over to Sonia, I just wanna restate what we always want to emphasize at these meetings, that there's a ton going on and a lot of information out there. If you want to learn more about the latest things happening related to accessibility at the T, generally the best place to start is our website, mbta.com/accessibility, along with our most recent initiatives report, mbta.com/accessibility-initiatives. You can also sign up for our monthly newsletters by going to mbta.com/SWA sign up. You can also come to any number of upcoming meetings. Our next RTAG meeting is on October 25th, October 24th, also at 5:30. And then we are already starting to get ready for our next semi-annual meeting focused on our settlement agreement. And this year, that's going to be on December 11th, also at 5:30. And then in the meantime, if you have any questions or complaints, you can get us at our customer call center, 222-3200, 711 for anyone using TTY, or by going to mbta.com and clicking on the support link at the top of the screen, and then filling out a feedback form. And for those that are on X or Twitter, formerly known as Twitter, you can send us a tweet by going to @MBTA. Next slide. All right. And at this point, I am going to turn things over to Sonia Stenich, our senior project coordinator, who's going to talk about some new fare verification initiatives. Sonia?
Thank you, Laura. That was a great update. I thoroughly enjoyed hearing all the news. Thank you all for having me. I have been to your meetings and I try to plug in on a regular basis to get updates. It always feels like coming home when I'm with RTAG. So I appreciate all 31 of you tuning in to hear some news about a new program. So I'm going to try to be very quick and concise with what I'm going to share with you to leave plenty of time for questions and discussion. So there's something new happening on the Green Line and bus very soon. And that is, we are starting a new way of doing business. And this new way of doing business will slightly change the way our riders are engaging with our system and our staff. So the big headline here really is that MBTA is rolling out all-door boarding for light rail, which includes Green Line, and eventually our buses. What all-door boarding really means is basically moving from what we're primarily doing now on the bus and for the most part on the Green Line, where customers have to line up at the front door and wait one by one to come in, tap their payment at the fare box, and then board and get seated and comfortable. We're going to start opening up all doors, right? Which means that many customers that, particularly the ones that don't need boarding assistance, will be able to board through any door, quickly pay at the new fare readers that have been installed very recently, and get comfortable and move. We expect that this transition to all-door boarding should expedite trips on trolleys and buses, because we will allow people to just pay at any door. What that really means is that riders will no longer have to engage with bus and Green Line operators around fare payment. Instead, we are going to be forming a new team of, these are brand new people that we have hired at the MBTA, who are going to do several things. Number one, they're going to help riders really acclimate to the new fare payment system that we have recently installed that is called contactless, and it went live in August. MBTA is a complicated system to begin with, and this new way of paying adds a lot of complexities to the already complicated system. And many riders have been asking us for this new modern way of allowing them to pay, right, using their phone and watch and credit card, which is really a great news for a lot of our riders, but it does come with some hiccups, right? And some of them are technological, which will simply take some time for us to figure out before everybody gets accustomed to it. So this newly formed team, they're going to be called Fare Engagement Representatives. One of the many things that they're going to be doing on the system is helping riders acclimate to the system, answering questions about the new fare payment system, answering questions about fare products, like different tickets that you could purchase for different trips. They're also going to be available to help customers with wayfinding, directions, general customer service questions, basically anything that a rider would need to have a safe and accessible trip. Ultimately, they're going to be ensuring that riders actually pay for the trips that they take on the MBTA. This measure is in place because we believe that once we remove operators from fare engagement and people start boarding at the rear door and nobody's checking, that we may have some issues with people just maybe stopping and not paying, or, because nobody's checking, just not paying, or simply not being sure if they're visitors or new to the city, unsure like what they're actually supposed to be doing. So the team is going to kind of make their rounds and make sure that it's clear what the rider is expected to do when it comes to fare payment. The fare engagement team is currently in training. They're going to receive a robust 6-week classroom training that will include all kinds of different topics, including accessibility and speaking respectfully to riders with disabilities. Other cool topics that we're importing that have not been taught at the MBTA before are topics like youth engagement, right? How to engage with young people who might be resistant and, presenting a challenge to this team, rebellious, right? How to de-escalate situations, how to, assist a customer with a disability or somebody who's having a mental health crisis, how to connect customers who need assistance such as housing or, other shelter or assistance in the community, maybe access those resources. And like de-escalate. They're going to be learning about like cultural competency, covering an understanding of the diverse populations that we have living in the greater Boston area, And most importantly, I wanted to highlight that we have hired a fully bilingual team of people. So everybody that we hired, the 16 people that we have now that we're starting with, all speak a language other than English or more than one language. So this is really great news in helping us sort of be able to honor some of the values that this program holds dearly and takes seriously in terms of diversity, honoring that, providing a fair and equitable program. Next slide, please. So I want to highlight a couple of changes for the riders specifically, and this includes all of our riders, riders with disabilities and riders who don't have disabilities. There are going to be some new policies, right? So proof of payment is something that will soon be required on all services where we have operationalized all-door boarding. Now, all-door boarding is a practice that we will be implementing slowly across the Green Line in phases, and then bus in phases as well. So we're not looking to bring all-door boarding to all bus and all Green Line all at the same time. This lift requires a lot of staff. It requires those staff to be trained. It requires us to have technology to be able to conduct fare checks. So, you know, we're gonna start slowly here, and most importantly, give customers plenty of time to adjust to what they're supposed to be doing or what we expect them to do. So riders will ultimately be required to carry their proof of payment, right, for their trip. So what that really means is just holding on to whatever form of payment you use to pay. So if you're using your Charlie card, you're just going to tap that card and just keep it handy somewhere, right? So when a fare engagement team member comes up to you and they introduce themselves and they ask you if you could present your proof of payment, you could easily do that. When they do get to that point where they are doing fare checks, they will be carrying a device with them similar to like a cell phone that will be technologically equipped to, you know, basically scan your form of payment. So a Charlie card, credit card, your phone, your watch that you use to pay and verify that you actually paid. So the fare engagement team is a civilian group of people. These are not employees that we're hiring and putting in uniforms that we have recognized across the MBTA, such as police-looking uniforms or security-looking uniforms. We've worked very hard over the last, I would say, maybe 2 years to actively engage with community organizations across the greater metro area to help us develop the policy for this program, learning from other transit agencies across the country who already do proof of payment and have done it for many years. So we've heard from them and learned what's working and not for them. And we've incorporated things that made sense for us, for our local communities. And we've also worked with the SWA at the MBTA to make sure that we are looking at everything through the lens of accessibility. Next slide, please. So I wanted to just let you know how this will impact riders with disabilities, right? So again, as I stated, our system-wide accessibility as well as Rider Transportation Access Group have participated and at various points in policy and process development have advised us on policy and program and have worked with us to make sure that the program meets the accessibility standards and that we are continuing to provide accessible communication. Fare engagement staff, these are extra eyes and ears on the system to offer various assistance to customers. We believe this is going to be value added to all of our customers because our system is complicated. A lot of times our signs are not clear and they're confusing. And there's a lot of work to do infrastructure-wise, such as printing maps, wayfinding directions. We believe that adding these staff will really help all of our customers, especially customers who rely or require assistance at stations. in the platforms, on vehicles with boarding or alighting. The staff are going to be expertly trained in a lot of different topics. They will honor all reasonable requests from our riders. We have brokered some activities that they will and will not be doing. There are some limits to how we're going to train them based upon the type of role that they have. So they're not going to be acting in the same capacity as like a trainer or a bus operator. Those roles have very specific responsibilities when it comes to securing riders and making sure that securements are done properly. For those reasons, we are not going to employ the fare engagement staff to do bus securements. That still remains the responsibility of a bus driver. At the moment, we're also not training our staff to deploy bridge plates independently. And bridge plates are aids that are used on the Green Line trolleys. Some of you may be very familiar with them. Currently, the train operator will use the specially designed key that they have to unlock those bridge plates. Our fare engagement staff, if they happen to be present at the platform or on the vehicle, will be assisting both the customer with boarding and alighting with the bridge plate, and they could also assist the operator with the task. They just cannot independently deploy the bridge plate for safety reasons. But where they could be helpful, for example, is like crowd control, right? If a customer with a disability says, hey, listen, I need to get off at the stop, I'm going to need this extra assistance. Could you just make sure they could take a lead there, like reserving space on the platform, making sure that the operator gets communicated clearly what the customer needs, and that they are sort of serving as that connection between the customer and the operator. And then lastly, they are going to be expected and trained to provide assistance to MBTA employees during emergencies, such as evacuations. And during that period of time, they will be trained how to effectively communicate with riders with disabilities and take care of any of their needs during evacuations or emergencies. And also just during their regular day-to-day interactions, emergency or not. They will be very sensitive to riders that may, whose behavior really might be maybe misinterpreted as unruly or just basically non-compliance, if you will. Next slide, please. So I wanted to give you a little bit of information about what this team will behave like, what they're going to look like. So again, they're going to have a uniform that they're going to be recognized by, but it'll not be a police-like uniform. I wish that I really had a real life photo of the uniforms. We did get them, but I didn't get a chance to like take a photo of somebody wearing it. So I think I've got attached here in one of the other slides the picture of a prototype that I wanted to show you, but essentially it's going to be a green polo shirt. So they're going to be wearing colors of bus and Green Line. So a green button-up polo shirt with a yellow MBTA patch. And their patch is going to be designed in a non-threatening way. It'll be a shape of like what's commonly used for like park rangers. It'll have pictures of bus and a Green Line on it, and it'll say fairness and equity on the patch. And then that's the shoulder patch. The front patch on the shirt will simply have an MBTA logo on it. In addition to that green shirt, they're going to be wearing khaki pants, a pair of boots or comfortable sneakers, and a baseball hat. As I stated before, they're going to be able to connect riders with resources in the community. They will have full access to our language line that offers over 300 languages besides English plus ASL. And they all are fully bilingual, so they might actually be able to help some customers as well to make sure that there are no misunderstandings. They're going to be specially trained in de-escalation, youth engagement, cultural competency, diversity and inclusion, and many more topics. They will be assisting both the customer and the MBTA when they are in the midst of their fare-related duties, which are their main duties. If a customer stops them and asks for assistance, any kind of assistance, we're going to expect them to drop their fare duties and assist that customer. So we are prioritizing customer assistance and customer service over their duties. And they're also going to be able to help riders with boarding, alighting assistance, crowd control, ensuring timely communication and wayfinding, as I mentioned. Next slide, please. So the team is going to be deployed and travel in teams of 2, maybe more people. So 2 at the minimum. They're going to be deployed to all modes of the light rail and bus where all door boarding is in effect. They're going to, when they do engage with riders on the vehicle, they're going to do that in a systemic fashion. Systemic fashion refers to an action that helps. Sorry, did somebody say something?
I think it was just someone accidentally unmuting.
Okay, sorry. So a systemic fashion helps us avoid disproportional impact to any customer or any particular location that we're inspecting, right? So we're not going to want to focus on specific riders by like targeting them based upon the way that they look or behave. Once the team is on board the vehicle, they're supposed to inspect every rider that's on that vehicle, no exception. And they're going to design their inspection routes in a way that makes sense. And we're going to be hiring additional administrative help to ensure that they're routed appropriately through the system to accomplish this goal. So the team is going to board the buses and trains to ask riders to provide their proof of payment. This proof of payment work will not be done at stations or at platforms. It will be done on moving vehicles. And riders who did not pay after the educational period that we offer them, which will take place for about 6 months after the team is deployed to an area. So we're going to not expect people to understand what it is that's expected of them right away or to comply with the new policy. Instead, we're going to take about a couple of months, possibly close to 6 months, to simply educate them, educate the riders, introduce ourselves to the riders, make sure riders have all of their questions answered about the policies, about the team, about the expectations. And then what we will do is we will announce that next phase when we actually begin checking people for fares and expecting that they will have proof of payment and that they would have paid. And we're then going to start with what's called a warning first policy. So that means that even after the educational period, you still, you encountered the team and you don't have your proof of payment, you would not get a citation. You would get a warning, which doesn't cost anything, and that there's no consequence to it. The warning comes with another round of one-on-one education with you to make sure that your specific concerns and questions are addressed and to make sure that you know what to do next time. And then if thereafter you are encountered by the team and you do not have your proof of payment, you will then receive a citation. Next slide, please. Implementation timeline. So we actually start sending the team out to the Green Line extension on October 7th. So this is coming up pretty quickly. The team will be at the 7 Green Line extension stations only. Why Green Line extension? We already do all-door boarding at all hours of service on the Green Line extension. And there really is a very confusing system there where people are just unsure what to do for payment, if they should be validating or paying outside at the fare vending machine or inside. And so we thought this would be a perfect perfect place to send our team to do their initial engagement with riders. So if you are using the Green Line extension or riding the Green Line, come October 7th, please come and say hello to our team. They are very excited to get out of their chairs and training and use all of that wonderful knowledge and apply that in the field. So come and stop by and say hello. Let us know what you think. Your feedback is always valued. And we will make sure to announce when we're ready to sort of move from the platforms to like to the vehicles, or when we're ready to like implement a different way of engaging with riders. There will be a full marketing campaign with ads and a press release and a video and a web page that we just went live with, which provides very basic information about the fair engagement team, and the program will be updated with additional content as we move through our phases. The goal for us is to expand from GLX, meaning the Green Line extension, to the remainder of the Green Line sometime over the next 2 years. So this will take a while because we need to hire staff to be able to expand beyond the Green Line extension. And it will also depend on the technology which is being developed for us so that this team can actually do their job of fair inspections. I am unsure yet and cannot give you any clear timelines, but my estimate is that we will probably expand through the entire Green Line by 2027, and then start thinking about bus come 2027. So as you could tell, this will take a couple of years. And I think that's all the slides that I have. I know it took a long time, but it's sort of a very kind of high level overview for you. Lastly, I wanted to just showcase the uniform shirt with the patch that I was trying to describe earlier. So it's a green polo that's depicted on the slide with 2 patches. One is the front chest patch, which has the MBTA logo. The other one is a shoulder patch that has a picture of a bus and a trolley with the words Fair Engagement Team, Fairness and Equity on the bottom. And I know you probably have a lot of questions. I did see a few chat mentions pop up. I didn't read those, but we could maybe reflect on the questions now, and feel free to ask me anything now.
Great. Thank you so much, Sonia and Laura. Thank you so much for your presentation. We'll have our question and answer discussion period right now for both of those sections. I did see that there's quite a few questions in the chat, but for anybody who has a question who would like to raise their hand, go ahead and do so. Awesome. Thanks so much, Rob. So to indicate that you have a question, go ahead and use the raise hand feature located at the bottom of the screen. And that will alert the moderator that you'd like to speak, and then you'll be unmuted to ask questions in the order that you raise your hands. To speak, you can click reactions, then raise hand. On your keyboard, you can click the Alt and Y key to raise your hand. And if you're calling in, you can click *9 to raise hand or *6 to unmute. And I will start with Susie, and then I will alternate with a chat question as well. Go ahead, Susie.
Okay, just to ask the same thing that I asked in the chat is I'm just a little leery about the fare collection things. They say keep your phone, your watch, and your cards away from it. What if it takes? What if it does charge by mistake? What's the way around this, or what's the workaround?
Yeah, thank you, Susie. That's a great question. So this is part of our sort of like learning and development as we have implemented this technology. The technology is very sensitive to proximity, right? And it has the capacity potentially to scan through your backpack. Let's say if you're close by or leaning on to the fare reader, it could maybe charge a card if you're too close. Our tech team has navigated through sort of what to do in these situations. There is a process in place for refunding customers. Keep in mind that oftentimes you as a customer may not even be aware that you were charged, right? Because you're not aware that you're standing next to the reader. So first, the marketing campaign tried to message as much as possible, sort of alerting customers of kind of like being aware of kind of like their bodies, their bags, their wallets, making sure people understand how to appropriately engage with this technology. But if a situation did happen where you knew that you got charged or you didn't know, but later discovered, there is a phone number and you could submit a ticket or notify the MBTA that you were charged, even if it was multiple times, and those charges will be refunded. That is my understanding. I've personally, I have been on buses because I ride the buses both as a personal choice as a rider here living in this area, but also through the work that I've been doing, observing interactions between riders and bus drivers, talking to bus drivers about the system. I've actually had to warn a few riders because of my knowledge. I see them leaning on with their backpacks, and one of them, I could hear the tap happening on the fare reader, and I told this woman to please check her credit card statement when she gets home, and sort of gave her like a brief spiel about what to do and not to do. But yes, please do alert through the general customer service, or you could submit a ticket through the MBTA website that you were charged, and just explain the situation, and you will be contacted by the fare revenue team who's going to be issuing refunds.
Yeah, a quick follow-up to that. So you realize, of course, that there are days and hours of the day when the transportation options are completely packed, and there's no room for you to put your bag anywhere else but, like, where it is. And folks, I'm worried about that.
Well, I think, so let's see, the readers on our system-wide accessibility team has helped us ensure that the readers are placed location-wise in a way that they're not obstructive of movement, but that they're easy to use and within reach range to customers with disabilities. And you're right, our trains and our buses are crammed, and there isn't a lot of space to begin with, even without them, to move around. But we, like on the bus, we have this fare reader that would technically be reading your card without your knowledge, is located where the bus driver is, so where the current fare box is. Then there's one in the mobility area, and there's at least one or two in the rear of the bus. So that's a total of 4, right? And if you have Silver Line buses, which are longer, there could be up to maybe 8 readers on them, if I recall. So just my best advice would be to just be aware of where the readers are, and if you're able to take your bag maybe off of your back if it's too busy or crowded, and just, that's sort of the only way that we can make sure now that that we avoid situations like these. The other thing you could do is simply make sure that maybe your wallet or your watch, like if you have sort of a Apple Pay or Google Pay or something else, that your phone is turned off so that the reader can't read it, and that like your wallet with your credit cards isn't in your bag. So maybe just taking that out of your bag and keeping it someplace where the reader can get to it, right? So I know it's not an ideal answer, but I think it's going to take time for both the MBTA to sort of figure out some alternative ways to deal with the situation, but also for our riders to sort of get accustomed to kind of living in this sharing space with these readers, and everybody kind of being happy, and us not having to deal with a lot of instances of customers being double charged or charged at all.
I just want to piggyback on everything Sonia just said. I think the one piece I want to emphasize is with the addition of these new readers, we've been actually able to place them in locations that are easier for folks to reach than the traditional fare box. So specifically for a number of riders, specifically those of us that use wheelchairs or scooters, wheeling up the bus ramp and stopping to pay tap our cards at that fare box by the driver is kind of a challenge right before you have to take a hard left down to the seating area. So what's great now is we've got a reader located right in that securement area. So it's just a much more convenient stop for somebody to pay their fare rather than having to stop at the very, very front of the bus. And then particularly on the Green Line, there was no accessible way to pay your fare prior to these readers being rolled out. So absolutely, this will be an adjustment and they will take some getting used to, but they also offer more accessible options than we've had before.
Great. Thank you, Sonia and Laura. I'm going to turn to the chat for a question from Andy. Laura, this is for you, I believe. Can the public address system at South Station be improved? A consumer of mine could not hear the track and got on the wrong train. Is there anything from SWA that you want to respond with?
So it sounds like the concern here was that with that large overhead screen, the announcement of where the train would be arriving, the commuter rail train, I assume, wasn't loud enough. Is that correct? Andy, are you able to clarify?
Hi, we're going to look at it. Okay. Posted and stuff like that.
I see. Andy, are you? Go
Yeah,
ahead.
actually, I'm on the train right now. No, the announcement at South Station, the announcement over the PA system, you can't hear it when you're actually on the platform waiting for the tracks, waiting for the train.
Okay, Andy, what we can do is follow up with you to get some specifics on that. Obviously, that should not be happening. The announcement should be clear there. But we'll reach out to you tomorrow if you don't mind to get some of those details and send those over to our vehicle maintenance teams.
Great, and then actually there was another issue. We'll talk tomorrow, Laura. Thank you.
Thanks, Andy.
Laura, if I might shed a little more light, the exhaust fans at South Station, which I do, are so overpowering that you cannot actually hear the system. So that's a design issue that we've got to work with the design team. And they still do not have all of the visual messaging working yet either. So that's a little more background. But
Yeah, thanks, Chris. Thanks for that context. Tom, you're next.
Hi, this is Tom, our RTAG member, Tom Gilbert. I have a question for Sonia. Would you have any idea of when they're going to start phasing out the old fare boxes? And I wanted to say with those old fare boxes, they can be hazardous, especially when you're having like people putting in nickels and dimes and kind of fussing with it, and they're not behind the yellow line and blocking the driver's view, which I think is very dangerous. They need to be behind the line, not fiddling with the old equipment that's there now currently. So I was just wondering if you had an idea of when they're going to start phasing them out, because I say the sooner the better.
Yeah, thank you, Tom, for your question. It's something that the MBTA is working towards, but it's kind of a complicated matter. The reason it's complicated is because we still utilize our fare boxes to allow people who prefer or can only pay cash to pay for their fare. And until the MBTA can find a reasonable alternative to continue to serve cash paying customers, we cannot remove the fare box. It's an equity issue. It's also a conversation of a complex nature that involves, or politics really, it involves bringing a lot of different departments at the T together. And a lot of different stakeholders need to come to the table to ensure that we are ready to take that fare box off. It is coming though in the future. I cannot tell you if it's going to be a year from now, or 2 years from now, but it is being planned. And we will be working on the community with our advocates on solutions to ensure that we provide equitable access to all of our customers, whether they're customers who have been, you know, requesting that we bring this new modern fare payment system that allows them to pay their fare, you know, contactless way, or customers who prefer to be on the opposite spectrum, to not ever carry a credit card, maybe customers who don't have a bank account and they don't want to be found or tracked, to allow them to have the same access to all of the services that we offer. So please stay tuned for more information on that. And it truly isn't, as much as I would love to engage with you on questions related to the equipment, I am not the expert on the fare technology. I'm here from the policy department to really speak to you about this new program that we're implementing and this new initiative, right, of fare engagement and all of the ways in which we will accomplish our goals of, you know, fare compliance and insert additional helpers into our system, which are desperately needed for all of our customers. So I'm happy to answer what I can, but I just want to let you know that I'm simply not, I'm not well schooled or well versed on all of the details regarding the technology. So I'll do the best that I can with other questions.
I just want to quickly comment that, so see, it wouldn't have been such a big deal keeping those boxes. I know it's already been done. They go back to 2005. I know the boxes are very old, and of course you simply weren't around then, so it's silly to, you know, but if the T at that time, you know, retroactively had just came out with the fare box, it just simply had a funnel. We just simply threw the change in, and you just went along your business. I mean, I know Brockton Area Transit had those type of fare boxes for years. It had a funnel where you just threw the change in, and it took the dollar bills, and everything was fine, because then everybody could just move on their way and not block the driver's view and be doing dangerous things. And you know, because the yellow line thing, I take that very seriously, because, you know, it makes sense to me, you know, when I've always used to ride with my mother in her car and things. She also say, you know, Tom, pull your head back. I can't see my right-hand view. I can't see my right-hand view. And if you have people there blocking the driver's view, it only makes sense to me that sooner or later you're going to get sideswiped by another automobile on the street and everything. So that just wanted to say that.
Thank you,
Thanks,
Tom.
Tom.
I think what I just want to follow up, what Tom has said reminds me to make another point to this group. You may have heard this or not, but I just want to, just for the additional clarification, because we have heard from numerous customers, primarily seniors and customers with disabilities, that there was some communications earlier on when we were implementing the contactless payment, that had some customers worried that we're actually getting rid of the Charlie cards and cash altogether, and that we're replacing these forms of payment with credit cards only, with contactless, which is not the case. Contactless is being added as an additional convenience,
Right.
On top of being able to use your Charlie cards, Charlie tickets, cash. So none of the current forms of payment that you're using are going away or are changing anytime soon. However, the fare box that we currently have, the old clunky one, serves another purpose, which is to be able to recognize the current Charlie cards and all of your other disability related passes that people are carrying, those can only be recognized by the current fare box. You cannot swipe or tap the current Charlie card that you have onto the new fare reader,
Ah,
because the technology that we've implemented is eons ahead and is not compatible with the Charlie cards that we have now. There's another phase of modernization of the fare, the entire fare payment structure, which will involve the MBTA tackling the fare vending machines. This is a really exciting part, and I'm sure our team that is an expert in technology will be coming through at some point to announce this, but our fare vending machines are being replaced with new fare vending machines that will have, you know, additional features to them that are more modern and are more accessible, right? So it'll be a big win for customers who are disabled and are using those fare vending machines over the old ones. And then at that time, we're going to be developing a new Charlie card, which will be compatible with the fare readers that we have. But until that time, you know, for the Charlie cards and cash, we are using the fare box. So hopefully that gives you a little bit more context in terms of like how complicated this is, and it'll take some time.
okay,
Great,
no,
Sonia.
it's like I was just saying,
Thanks.
as far as the
Tom, I'm just gonna,
okay,
because I'm conscious of time and we
Okay.
still have to move on to the
Yeah, thanks,
ride. We have
Sonia.
about 4 questions left.
Bye-bye.
But thank you for your questions. I'm just gonna ask if folks could just take a couple of minutes and no longer for your questions, just so we have enough time for the ride portion as well. That would be great. I'm gonna do a chat question and then it'll be Shirley, Rhoda, and Debbie. And the chat question, Sonia, I believe is for you. Can you renew the cards from home or do you have to go to Back Bay?
If you're asking whether you could like create an account for your Charlie card from the website, is that the question? If you could clarify.
Adam, are you on here and able to unmute?
So I think this popped up when I was talking about for if you're renewing an existing member.
The cards you were talking about for the Charlie card and the reverse, the senior fare, the things that the cards that Laura was talking about, like for the Charlie card and for
So
renewal, because mine expires in the middle of next year.
Everyone, will the people wearing the green uniforms are going to be checking if you validated your
yeah, Adam, you can renew online. So we have both for new cards and renewals. We have online applications now. So if you go to our website and look under
I
the
did it
register
online.
page, you'll
Wait.
find links to all of those
I
sites.
did it online in 2020, but I had assistance as a blind person do that.
Wait.
So yep, so if you need assistance, we've got a number of in-person locations. We've got our new Charlie Service Center located at street level now, right near State Street Station, right outside downtown Crossing area. Or you could also go to our mobility center located at 1000 Mass Ave. Also, a number of organizations we work with will often host events where folks can go in and get help set up interacting with the applications. I do want to note that if you're somebody who uses a screen reader, all of the applications are fully accessible. The team did a lot of user testing to make sure that
great
was
to
the
know.
case. But yeah, we do have some good in-person options as well if you want some extra help.
Yeah, I am a screen reader user, so I
Okay.
was just curious because it said you said it doesn't require a picture anymore.
Well, it does. So, yep. So it does not require, there will not be your photo on the physical card anymore. However, you will still need to submit a photo to apply because we keep a photo on the back end.
From Jennifer Ross to everyone,
So you will still
Charlie
need to
Service
submit a
Center is
photo.
located at 296 Washington Street.
Say that again, Adam.
Meeting to Robert Sign.
Got it.
See Joel posted. Do this still.
All right. Awesome. Adam, thank you for that question. That That was very helpful clarification, Laura. Shirley, I'm going to turn it to you. And we
Hello?
can't. Oh, there you go.
Hi, I had a question on the blind access card, and even though it doesn't have a picture and other information in it, will it still have the expiration date? Because that's helpful for us to know by the time it expires is 5 years later, and if it doesn't have an expiration date, we will miss that date and then not renew it on time. So I was wondering if at least will it still have an expiration date on the card to let us know when we need to renew it again for the blind access card.
Great. Thanks, Shirley. Laura, do you have a response?
Yeah, that is a fantastic question, and I don't know the answer off the top of my head. I believe that you will be able, with the serial number that's on the card, be able to look up your account and see when it will be expiring. But surely, if you can let us double check that with the team, we can follow up with you.
Yeah, I think it would be better because instead of us having to go and look it up, you know, because I'm blind, obviously the blind access card. So it would be a little more difficult for me to have to jump through hoops to try to look it up and find out when the expiration date is. And then the other question I have now is because of Adam when he asked about renewing. So I renewed last year. So it doesn't expire until 2028. And you said there's going to be new cards that will replace the existing cards that will be more discreet and not have our photos on it. So will the new cards, will my card and others who aren't due to renew in few years be replaced? Like when they automatically send me a new card to replace what I have that doesn't expire in 2028?
So generally speaking, we don't automatically renew anyone's card.
Well, a replacement card because I just renewed last year, so that doesn't expire until 2028. So will that card continue to work until it's time?
Yes, absolutely. You will not need to make any changes with your existing card. It's just if you, let's say you lost your card and you needed to replace it, or when 2028 rolls around and you need to replace it, that new card you will receive will no longer have your photo on it.
Okay.
But again, your current card will keep on working as it has been until that point.
Okay. So, well, can you just raise the issue with the technical crew to maybe continue to have the expiration date on the cards at least, so we can quickly take a look and know when, you know, we should be thinking about renewing again?
So I can tell you for sure that we're not going to easily be able to add the expiration to the cards because the big advantage here is that the cards are essentially generic looking cards, so they don't need to be printed with any sort of unique information on them. But I do want to go back and ask the team how we're making sure riders are aware of the expiration, given that it won't be on the card, because I think that's a really great question.
Okay. All right. Well, thank you then.
Thank you, Shirley. Those were great questions. Debbie, your questions were next in the chat, but I see your hand is also raised. Were you going to ask those questions?
Yep.
Okay,
Actually,
great.
no, I was going to ask something different. So I'm glad that, I haven't finished all the chat stuff. I don't know the last part of it yet. But actually, I was glad that it was brought up about the South Station announcements, because I actually keep forgetting to say something about that, because I also have taken the wrong train because I couldn't hear them, primarily outside, but also inside when it's very busy and there's a busy time of day. It's also very difficult to hear those announcements. So it's hard to know what train, where, what track. So it's just to let you know that it's kind of, it's an important thing. I just wanted to say, I think I'm glad that he brought that up because it reminded me to bring that up as well. And my chat things, I'll just look at the chat and see if I can get my answers there.
Okay, sounds good. Debbie, thank you.
Okay.
And Rhoda, I'm going to let you be the last person for this section, so we have time to move on to the ride.
Thank you. this question, well, it's not a question, well, it's somewhat of a question. It has to do with the elevators. I do get the text alerts when elevators are down. On September 3rd, I had to go to Davis Square on the Red Line. I left Malden, got on the train, got to downtown Crossing, got on the Red Line. And as I'm pulling into Davis Square, I get a text alert that the elevator is down due to maintenance. I get off the train, I go to the call box, and I'm like, well, what am I supposed to do? I can't get upstairs because the elevator is down. And so I waited a half an hour for the supervisor or whoever that they were sitting when I did the call box, and nobody came. So I got back on the train, went to Porter Square, went upstairs, took an Uber, and I had to wait 25 minutes for an Uber to go from Porter Square to Davis Square. And then my chair, I had issues with my chair, so I ended up basically spending the day in Cambridge trying to Somerville, Cambridge, and it took me 5 hours to get an Uber to go back home because the elevator still wasn't working at Davis Square. There has never been, and I've never heard any announcements on any train when an elevator is down at any station. And that is very, very dangerous. For people in wheelchairs, no matter what your disability is, if you need an elevator. What can the T do to improve this system? Like at Sullivan Square, you have 2 different elevators that you can take if one is down. Davis Square, it's one elevator. That elevator goes down. You don't know until you get off the train. What can the T do about this accessibility issue, which is a major, major issue?
Yeah, Rhoda, I can speak to that. So Rhoda, let me ask, you said this happened on September 3rd?
Yes.
Okay, so we can do a little what down there. Let me tell you what should have happened, because this is one scenario where we have lots of very clear policies and protocols in place, and what you experienced shows me that there was a breakdown in several of them on that day. So if an elevator goes out of service for any reason, a few things happen. The first is that our maintenance team is notified and our operations control center is notified. The maintenance team is focused on dispatching maintenance personnel to go get that unit working again. Meanwhile, our operations team is responsible for a bunch of things. Most importantly, getting messages out to riders that the unit is down, along with information about what they should do. Now, it sounds like some of that happened. It sounds like you got a text alert, which is great, which means that a service alert went up on our website and was pushed out to people's cell phones, whoever signed up for that alert. What it sounds like did not happen, though, was when you got to the station, somebody did not quickly respond to your using the call box. What you should have been informed at that point, both either through the call box or that text alert, was that we would have a shuttle established between Davis Square and either Porter or Harvard that would bridge you to the next accessible red line station. And in addition to that, our control center should have, if they didn't, they should have issued a directive to the motor persons on the red line to
there was no one in the station, and I'm in my chair sitting by the elevator waiting for a half an hour, and I called the call box 3 times and kept asking, Do you know when someone will get here? It could be, and they told me, the lady who asked, it said it could be up to an hour. Or
Yeah,
more.
so Retta, what you're describing is against a number of different policies. So what we want to do is go back and see if we can look into some of the logs of what transpired on the 3rd. Because that frankly should not have happened, and I apologize that it did. I would ask you and anybody here, if you ever run into an instance like that again, to try to let us know as soon as possible, because we're gonna be better able to figure out what happened and what broke down and take appropriate action. We're still gonna do an investigation based on the information you provided. But again, I apologize that happened. It should not have happened. We provide a lot of elevator shuttles due to elevators going out of service, and that just, for whatever reason, but it sounds like that did not happen on the 3rd.
Oh, well, my phone had died. I didn't, my phone basically was dead, so I couldn't call out. So that's why I kept calling the call box. So my phone was dead. I found out that my motor in my power wheelchair was dead. So I was sort of it was a day of catastrophes. And
yeah, that sounds like a very rough day. No,
yes.
I'm sorry that we added to that.
Thank you for sharing, Rhoda. I appreciate it. All right, folks, let's move on to the ride section. Rob, if you could scroll back to the beginning, that would be great. And I'm going to hand it over to Michelle to do her thing. Thanks, Michelle.
Thank you. Thank you. So this first slide has a display of the ridership. It trends ridership from August of 2023 through August of 2024. And we're looking specifically at August performance. The ridership for August was up about 35 trips above July. And the breakout between DSP, which was just under 80,000, demand was 56,000, and track shifted trips were just about 6,700. Go to the next slide, please. The graph on this slide trends on-time performance for the period of September 2023 through August of 2024. The August performance was 96%, which is up 1% from the prior month and exceeds our on-time performance goal of 90%. Next slide, please. There are two graphs on this slide regarding on-time performance. To the left, it's simply a different display and shows our goal of 90% and the trending data. To the right, we have a display of pickups greater than 120 minutes per 1,000 trips. For the month of August, we had 0.02, which equates to 1 delayed trip with extenuating circumstances for the month of August. And the trend line shows a significant decrease since January. If we can go to the next slide. There are two graphs here on this slide regarding call center performance. To the left, again, it's a trend that shows September of 2023 through August of 2024 for average speed of answer, or also known as hold times. It's consistently been under 1 minute since it looks like November of 2023. We were at 0.28 of a minute for the month of August. Call volume for August was down slightly from July at just about 87,000 calls. Go to the next slide. We also track the share of calls that are answered within 2 minutes. And this slide has a graph that shows the trend again from September of 2023 to August of 2024. And the share of calls answered within 2 minutes for August was 97%. If we go to the next slide. We also have complaint information here. We received 135 complaints in the month of August, 36 commendations, 333 inquiries. And we also track complaints per 1,000 trips, and that number for the month of August was 1.57. If we go to the next slide. I often speak about the RIDE organization and what we're doing with our team. We have 27 positions, and there are 4 positions posted right now. Senior Customer Liaison, Deputy Director of Operations, Senior Analyst, and Contract Performance and Program Manager. These positions are posted on the MBTA website, on Indeed, and we've shared the postings with RTAG to help us increase the candidate pool. On the next slide, please. Okay, I am also going to take this opportunity to speak a little bit to Ride Along that I presented at the board and to the RIDE subcommittee. This is something that we partnered. I'm sorry, I'm looking at the messages as they're popping up. We partnered with the TID team to come up with a visual display to track your trip, very similar to what you see with Uber and Lyft. And we have just moved into user acceptance testing, where we're having employees that are RIDE customers, some people from system-wide accessibility, and we've extended the invitation to RTAG members to test this. And it looks like we are going to go live with the testing this weekend, and additional information will be pushed out about what to expect and how to share that information with us. Does anybody have any questions?
Thank you so much, Michelle, for your presentation. So again, to remind folks, if you have a question, please use the raise hand feature located at the bottom of the screen. When you raise your hand, it alerts us that you'd like to speak. I will unmute you in the order that you asked your questions or raised your hands. To speak, click reactions, then raise hand. If you are using a keyboard, you can click the Alt and Y keys. And if you're calling in, you can click *9 to raise your hand and *6 to unmute. And I will hand it over to Tom to start.
Hi, Michelle.
Hi, Tom.
Hi. I think one of those numbers might have answered my question, because remember I asked you the last time about my friend Mike about how many more Uber rides he can get according to how much he uses the ride.
Yes.
The 337 number 2727, is that the magic number that he would call to actually inquire about that?
I'm sorry. We can get back to you on that. Are you talking about a phone number?
Yeah. He had one of the phone numbers. It was an eligibility number, so it'd probably be in his profile. So I was thinking that maybe that would be a logical number to tell him to call, because he's always asking me, well, can I talk to Michelle? Can I talk to Michelle? And I said, no, she's very busy, Mike. I can't, and I don't know what to say to him and everything, So I thought maybe that number would be a good number for him to call about him maybe able to get more flex rides in the future according to how much he uses the ride. That maybe he can answer. Maybe they can answer that question for him, possibly.
We can share a response with Kat, and I can ask Kat to push that out to you about how we determine the ride allotments, the trip allotments, but we don't do it in response to requests. We evaluate twice a year, but we can get that information to Kat and push it to you, Tom, to share with your friend.
Okay, because when it said the 337 one, the 2727 on eligibility according to the profile, it just sounded like a logical number that maybe he would call, because they'd be getting into his profile of what's going on and how often he uses the ride and how much more you need to use it to be eligible for the instead of the 10 rides he's getting a month to get the 30 or 40 that other people are getting now?
There isn't a specific formula that we share. It's simply a look back at how the trips are being used and what trips are available, and then an assessment based on prior ridership. But nobody would call and receive additional trips. We don't do it by request.
I'm not saying request exactly, but how to get to get to that goal eventually, like a long term, like you said, it's twice a year. So do you think when is the next one coming up? As far as it's twice a year, so when would the next one be coming up?
I believe we just did it at the end of August,
Okay, so the next one would be coming in
about 6 months from now.
like January or February.
Yes, yes. So we can get a little more information to Kat to share with you. But we wouldn't increase the trips. You could share with your friend that they will be reevaluated again in about 6 months.
So every 6 months is the evaluation. All right, so
At
I'll have to generally explain that to him. And just to confirm that there's 4 vacancies left now on the ride.
No, there's not 4 vacancies. These are the first 4 we're filling. We have
Oh.
additional vacancies, yeah. So
How
we
many are
have
left now?
19 for, I think we have about 4 more vacancies.
Oh, 4 more vacancies left.
Mhm.
Oh, okay. So that's doing a lot better now than we were doing months ago. So it sounds like we're making a lot of progress and everything. So
Yes, our team is really happy. We're looking forward to being fully staffed. And one of the things that we are going to see, or Megan, who's our Deputy Director of Communications, will have 2 people to work with her on customer experience and outreach and communication. So we're really looking forward to that.
okay, thanks. Yeah, good talking with you.
Yes.
Thanks,
Thank you.
Tom. Thanks, Michelle.
I'm
Debbie, you're
gonna just
next.
make a
Oh.
quick note to follow up with Tom.
Okay, great. Go ahead, Debbie.
Okay, I just want to piggyback on Tom's question, and I should know the answer to this by now. Is the increase in flex rides based on the ride ridership or flex ridership or both?
It's based solely on past ridership of ride vehicles.
Okay, and there was another question had to do with that as well. Okay, that's oh yes, I know. Do you know how to tell on the Uber app how many rides you have left? I know there's a way to do it on the Lyft app, but do you know how to do it on the Uber?
I couldn't speak to that right now, Debbie, but we could follow up with you. Let
That'd
me
be
just
awesome.
again make sure I get this down. So what you want to know is Uber app, your balance of trips available?
Yes, please.
Okay, we can do that.
That's it. That's all I need. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay.
I see another hand.
Yes, we're passing it over to Debbie Weathers.
Thank you, Kat.
Debbie, you are muted, but feel free to unmute.
Okay, I have a question about that on-time pickup and drop-off.
Mhm.
Is that the time that they give you the night of or the day of that they're saying on time? Because I
You're
know
asking
a
about
lot of
how
my
it's
trips, yeah, how you're calculating those figures. As
when
the
you
time
said
that they give you at the night before or the time that they really pick you up when they keep changing the time, because they change them times constantly. So that's what I'm trying to figure out, what time you calling on time.
well, are you asking about on-time performance, or are you asking about the ride-along application with ETA?
On-time performance. Talking about the on-time performance, saying they're picking up on time. What time are they using by these on times? The night they gave you before, or the new ones they keep adding during the day? But they'll give you one time at night, then they'll add some more time, then they add more time.
Michelle,
Like each time they're running behind, they'll change the time.
Thank you, Mike. I was looking to see if Mike was on here because Mike can definitely speak to that.
Sure,
Thank you,
thanks.
Mike.
Yeah, because
Good
they
evening,
keep
everybody.
changing the time.
Good evening, everybody. Debbie, thanks for the question. That time is based on the promised time you get the evening before with your callbacks.
Okay, because I know mines keep being changed, and know a lot of other people's keep being changed. And I had one other question. This is about when the ride comes to pick you up and you have a rollator. Okay, my mother's 83 years old. Okay, she folds the rollator up. She comes down 2 steps, holding on because she needs to hold down to get down the rest of the step. She hands it to the guy and he won't take it. He says he can't take rollators. Now, if this is supposed to be, I understand that business about not taking the rollator is for the driver's protection. What about the disability person that's trying to get to where they're going? Every time
And
she's had to cancel the ride and call a lift.
Mike, I'm going to ask you to answer this too.
Sure, thanks. Debbie, again, thank you for your question. The drivers are not trained to transport or pick up or lift or move anybody's mobility device, rollator, wheelchair, or anything to that nature. That's been our policy for many, many, many years.
I see them pushing them wheelchairs everywhere.
Pushing a
And I see
different
them
story.
pushing
Pushing a
wheelchairs.
wheelchair is a different story. Picking one up is a different story as well.
Thank you, Mike, and thank you,
I don't know
Debbie.
when they started that because they've been doing it for years. I heard it's a new policy said for the drivers. Because before they used to help. It's supposed to be 1 step, 1 stair.
That's in the
That's what
event
I
that
thought it
somebody's in
was.
if somebody's in a wheeled mobility device, Debbie.
And a wheeled mobility device.
Correct. If they're utilizing a wheelchair.
I don't know. These rules change every time. Okay,
you,
I'm
Debbie.
go by what you're saying, but I don't understand what the sense of person getting a rollator for if they can't get any help to the ride with it. I mean, I helped my mother bring it down the stairs and she brought it over to the ride and the guy still sat there talking about he got to call safety. I mean, he said he wasn't going to bring it down. The first time my daughter brought it down, the next time I brought it down, and the same guy came to our house 3 days in a row. We had to send him back because she's sitting out there. And I heard him on my ring thing, him not taking it. I got out of bed, came downstairs, I took the walker, sat it by the thing for him. Okay, I put it on the first step so that she can go roll herself over to the door, and he sat out there and made her sit out in that cold for 40 minutes. And then when the safety came, all of a sudden she could get on. Why? I don't understand that, making somebody sit there. After I did his work for him, what was his reason for making her sit out there? He did that 2 days in a row. On the 3rd day, she sent him back. On the 4th day, she sent him back.
And
Talk
Debbie,
about she can't go up the stairs, but he made her come down 5 flights, 5 steps, but she can't go up 3 steps on a ride. You got double things going on here. And I see him do it for some people and then they don't do it for others. So that's my problem with the whole thing. They do it for some and not others. And I've seen them do it.
Debbie, I hear you and I understand that. And I think some of the problem we run into is drivers would really like to help and sometimes do something outside of the requirements and their training because they'd like to help customers. And
Because they got grandparents.
that leads to a
Yeah.
problem because that's not what they're trained to do. And they're doing something outside of the work and what they're required to do. And there are rules in place to protect the safety of drivers. But I think that this contradiction that you're speaking to is by well-meaning drivers that are doing something that they shouldn't be doing. And we can bring that back to our team and ask them to for refresher training for the drivers to make sure they're all clear.
Yeah, but what was the reasoning behind him after me and my daughter brought the thing down to make her sit out there and wait for safety for 40 minutes? What was his problem there?
I'm not certain I'm aware of the entire situation that you're speaking to. Go ahead, Mike. I saw you were going off.
Sure, Debbie, recollection, I have you filed the complaint on this? Have you received a
Yes.
response yet?
No.
Okay, you should be getting a response any day now, because we had a discussion regarding this.
Okay. Because he didn't have to let her sit out there in that cold all that time. Especially after me and my daughter brought the thing down.
Debbie, it sounds like Mike and the team have the complaint and they're investigating it. I just heard that they talked about it. So it will be fully investigated and you will receive a response.
Okay, but it better not be a generic one. I'm sick of them.
Great, Debbie, thank you so much. I appreciate you sharing. Is there anyone else who?
I hope it's a sincere one. Because these generic ones are getting to me.
I hear that. Many
I
people
follow
share the
all
same
the
thing.
rules, and they send me a letter saying exactly what I did. Like you should use you could use the lift. I tried to use the lift, they wouldn't let me use the lift.
Well,
After they
Debbie,
made the mistake and that kind of stuff. But see, they're sending these generic letters out, and that's just not right.
Debbie,
Address the problem at hand.
now might be a good time to just refresh you on our hiring efforts. That we do have 2 positions posted. One is a senior customer liaison and one is coming. It's not posted yet, but it's a manager of issues resolution. And we recognize that there are some challenges here. And we're looking to onboard additional people that can help research, investigate, and connect with customers on the issues. But we're aware that there are some problems and we're working towards solving them.
Okay. All right.
Thank you, Michelle. Thanks, Mike. Thanks, Debbie.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank
Thank
you.
you. Does anybody else have any other questions or comments for Michelle and her team related to the ride? Or if anyone has any questions or comments for Laura or Sonia from earlier that didn't get a chance to because of time constraints. Tom, go ahead.
Everybody hear me okay? Yeah. Oh yeah, yeah. I wanted to go back to the stop announcements at South Station that Andy and I think Debbie brought it up too, I believe, on how they're hard to hear. I was also wondering if we could go a step further, if Keolis could actually, this would be a longer term kind of a thing. Like I don't expect it to change now, but could Keolis also start revamping of how the announcements are announced? Because I noticed that at the station and on the trains, the words are kind of like all pushed together. Like it says, trains is now putting them like they're all like stringed together instead of like distinct words that are said either over the PA at North or South Station or on the trains. And also when it makes the announcements to when it says like the train to Stoughton is now leaving on track 1, making station stops at blah 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 blah, and then after it makes the stops twice, make the track announcement again, because often it's just saying now leaving on track blah blah blah, and then it doesn't say the track after the stations are announced. See what I'm saying?
Yep. So Tom, this is specifically when you're on the platform or in the station, right? This is not when you're on the train itself.
When I'm on the train, it's just that in general the words are kind of of how the stations are announced are kind of stringed together. It almost sounds like it's mumbling in a sense, like it says making stations. No, well that's in the station, but when you say like now arriving at what's a good station, like now arriving at Anderson RTC, but it kind of like says it all together, like now arriving at Anderson RTC, like it kind of like mushes it together. Whereas the older system, it probably wasn't as clear, but at least it made distinct, like now arriving at Anderson RTC or Anderson Station, like it'll like space the words more consistently.
Yep, no, that's really good feedback. So actually, so my team meets with Keolis once a month, and our next meeting is actually tomorrow.
Yep.
So we've actually been talking about some different stop announcement related concerns with them, but let them pick their brain a little bit on the phrasing and the spacing between words, and see if this is something that's on their radar. We'll take a look at this and let us
Because
let's
that's been really nagging me
follow
for a
up with
long
you.
time now. It's been really bothering me because
Mm.
I hear what Andy's saying, you know, at times like it isn't loud enough. Or what Chris was saying, the exhaust fans are so loud that you can't hear it. Also, what was I going to say? I notice at times when I'm on the certain platforms, the speakers are broken, you know, on the station itself. Like if you're on one platform, the speakers will work on that platform. Let's say if you're on track 5, but I've noticed like at times if you're on track 7, the speakers won't work. It's really weird. So you hear like echoing sounds from the speakers that are working that you don't quite always hear, and that it doesn't seem like there's a consistency and continuity in how the speaker wires are hooked up and everything.
All right, thanks, Tom. Yeah, let us follow up on that.
Thanks, Tom. I appreciate your
Yeah,
feedback.
thanks, Kat. Okay. Yeah.
Any other questions or comments? I do want to highlight a couple of chat questions or comments. Adam chatted, some of the cars the ride purchased 10 years ago couldn't fit some of the walkers into the trunk. And Mike from the ride team responded saying, "Hi, Adam, you are correct. The smaller sedans only could fit folding walkers and or rollators. Some rollators don't fold. The good news is that those sedans have since been retired and our fleet now can handle them all. Thanks." And I'm going to do a last call for folks to share any comments, concerns, thoughts for either system-wide accessibility, fare policy, or the ride. All right, next slide, Rob. And just our last slide. Thank you all for attending. Our next general meeting will be on Thursday, October 24th, 2024 from 5:30 to 7:30 p.m. on Zoom. And we'll drop the link in the chat to sign up for RTAG newsletters if you are not already on that list. And I appreciate you all coming, and I will see you all hopefully next month. And bring a friend if you can. We're always welcoming new folks. And thank you, Laura, Michelle, and Sonia
Thank you.
for
Have a good night.
coming. And I hope
Thank you
everyone
all.
has a good night.
Thank
Bye.
you.
Yeah, thank you.
Bye, everyone.